The sound came at dawn, rolling through the valley like thunder that refused to die. Captain Daniel Brooks stood at the observation window of the research outpost, coffee growing cold in his hand as he listened. It was the third time in 12 hours, and each cry seemed weaker than the last. "It's getting worse," Hart said from her station, fingers dancing across the communications panel. "The pattern is changing. Listen." Daniel did listen. The deep, resonant call echoed off the canyon walls, creating layers of sound that seemed almost like words, almost like pleading. Dr. Lisa Monroe entered the room, her tablet glowing with fresh data. "I've analyzed the acoustic patterns. Whatever is making that sound has lungs the size of a small shuttle. The vocal structure suggests intelligence, not just animal distress." "The council says it's a predator," Lieutenant Jake reminded them, leaning against the doorframe. "They sent 3 warnings already. Stay away from the valley. Let nature take its course." Daniel turned from the window. "Nature doesn't leave energy weapon signatures. Found traces of council enforcement fire in that valley 2 days ago." The room fell silent except for the distant cry, fainter now, almost lost in the wind. Lisa pulled up a holographic display. "Look at this. The creature's biosignature is massive, yes, but the energy output is dropping fast. It's dying, and it knows it." "Then why does the council care if we help?" asked, her dark eyes narrowed. "If it's just an animal, why the threats?" Jake pushed off from the wall. "Maybe because it's not just an animal." Daniel made his decision. "Prep the rover. Full medical kit, non-lethal defense only. We leave in 20 minutes. "The council will be furious," Lisa warned, though she was already gathering equipment. "Let them be furious," Daniel said. "I didn't come halfway across the galaxy to ignore something calling for help." The journey into the valley took 3 hours. The rover bounced over rough terrain, navigating between massive boulders and ancient trees that seemed to lean away from their destination. Mist clung to the ground, thick and wet, making visibility poor. "Energy signatures increasing," reported from the back seat. "Definitely council weapons fire, recent too, within the last 72 hours. Lisa scanned the landscape. "Look at the trees, scorched, not burned naturally, and those boulders, they've been moved. This was a fight." The mist suddenly cleared and Jake hit the brakes hard. Before them lay devastation. The ground was torn up, great gouges in the earth as if something massive had struggled. Trees lay snapped like twigs, and everywhere the dark stains of what could only be blood. "Oh God," whispered. Daniel opened his door slowly. "Stay alert. Weapons ready but not aimed. If something is hurt and scared, we don't want to make it worse." They moved forward on foot, following the trail of destruction deeper into the valley. The cry came again, so close now that they felt it in their chests. It was a sound of pure anguish, the kind that transcended species. Lisa stopped suddenly, her hand raised. There, under the cliff. The creature was magnificent and terrible all at once. Scales that shimmered with soft blue and silver light covered a body easily 50 feet long. Wings, or what remained of them, were folded against its sides, one torn and bleeding. The creature's head was wedged beneath a massive section of collapsed cliff face, trapping it against the valley floor. But it was the eyes that stopped Daniel's heart. They were large, golden, and filled with an intelligence that no animal possessed. The creature watched them approach, and in its gaze was not anger or fear, but something far worse. "Grief." "Holy hell," Jake breathed. "It's a dragon like from the old stories." Lisa approached slowly, her medical scanner active. "The injuries are severe. Multiple lacerations, broken bones, that wing will never heal properly, and it's been here for days, maybe longer." Had her eyes closed, one hand on her communications device. "I'm picking up something, not words but patterns. It's trying to communicate." Then Daniel saw them, 3 smaller forms, partially hidden by the mist and debris. They weren't moving, would never move again. "Children," he said softly. "Those are children." The dragon's cry came again, and now Daniel understood. It wasn't a roar of aggression or a call for territory. It was the sound of a parent mourning its dead young. Lisa moved closer, her hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. The dragon watched but didn't struggle, didn't try to attack. It simply lay there, trapped and broken, beside the bodies of its children. "The council did this," Jake said, his voice hard. "They killed the little ones and trapped the parent, left it here to die slow." His device beeped. "I'm getting something. The bioluminescent patterns on its scales, they're not random, they're a language. Images began forming on her screen, rough and emotional but clear enough. A beautiful world of crystal formations. Dragons flying in groups, their scales flashing in complex patterns. Families, communities. Then the images turned dark, ships descending, weapons firing, dragons falling from the sky, eggs crushed, families scattered. "They're refugees," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "The council has been hunting them." The dragon made a soft sound, almost a whimper. It shifted slightly, and they saw it more clearly. Around its neck were scars, old ones from chains or restraints. This creature had suffered long before it came to this valley. Daniel knelt in the dirt, meeting those golden eyes. "We're going to help you. I don't care what the council says. We're going to get you out." The dragon's eyes seemed to focus on him with new intensity. Its scales flickered with light and gasped. "It understands you. It knows what you said." "Then it knows we're not leaving it here to die," Daniel said. He activated his communicator. "Outpost, this is Brooks. We need the heavy lifter, all the medical supplies you can load, and someone with engineering experience. We have a rescue operation." The response was immediate. "Captain, the council has ships in orbit. They're monitoring all transmissions. If you proceed, there will be consequences." Daniel looked at the three small bodies, at the parent trapped and dying beside them, and felt something harden in his chest. "Then there will be consequences. Brooks out." He turned to his team. "Jake, start planning how to lift that cliff section. Lisa, prep whatever medical treatment you can. Keep that communication link open. I want to know everything this creature is trying to tell us." The dragon's scales pulsed with soft light, a pattern that somehow felt like gratitude. The cry came again, but this time it was different. Still sad, still filled with pain, but carrying the smallest note of hope. The heavy lifter arrived within the hour, piloted by two engineers from the outpost who asked no questions when they saw the dragon. They simply started unpacking equipment, their faces grim with determination. Daniel coordinated the effort while keeping one eye on the sky. The council ships hadn't descended yet, but he could feel them up there, watching, waiting. Lisa worked closest to the dragon, her medical scanner mapping out the extent of injuries. 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, severe dehydration. That wing is the worst. The membrane is torn in 4 places and the bone is fractured. "Can you save it?" Jake asked, helping position the lifter's support beams. "Save its life, yes. The wing, I don't know. Dragons aren't in any of my medical databases." Lisa paused, looking up at the creature's face. "But I'll try everything I can." The dragon's eyes followed Lisa's movements, and occasionally its scales would pulse with light. Sat cross-legged nearby, her device translating the patterns into rough images and emotions. "It's telling us more," said quietly, "about what happened." Daniel knelt beside her. "Show me." The screen filled with images, clearer now as refined the translation protocols. A planet covered in crystal forests, beautiful and alien. Dragons soaring between massive structures that seemed grown rather than built. Eggs carefully tended in warm pools. Young dragons learning to fly, their parents guiding them with flashing scale patterns. Then the images shifted. Ships in orbit. The Galactic Council's insignia bright on their hulls. An announcement broadcast across the planet declaring the dragons a non-sentient species despite their protests, their art, their cities. "They stripped them of personhood," Daniel said, his voice hollow. "Made them animals by law." The images continued. Mining equipment descending, crystal forests being torn apart, dragons trying to defend their homes, their families. Council enforcers opening fire with weapons meant for hunting, not war. No trials, no negotiations, just extermination disguised as pest control. "They wanted the crystals," Lisa said, reading data that scrolled across the screen. "Crystals. They're in the dragon's world, in the structures they build. The crystals are worth more than any other resource in the galaxy." His hands shook as she worked. So the council just decided dragons weren't people. Easier to strip mine a planet if you're not committing genocide. The dragon made a low sound, almost a rumble. New images appeared. This dragon, the one trapped before them, flying through space with 3 smaller forms. Its children, running, hiding, settling on this remote world, just wanting peace, just wanting to raise its family far from the killing. Then council enforcers finding them anyway. The children playing in the valley, their scales bright with happiness. the ships descending without warning, energy weapons cutting through the air. Daniel had to look away from the screen. The image of those three young dragons, the ones now lying still in the mist, playing just hours before they died, was too much. They executed children, Jake said, his voice like stone. Shot them down while they were playing. The dragon's cry came again, softer now, exhausted. Its scales flickered in a pattern that needed no translation. Grief, pure, bottomless grief. Lisa placed a gentle hand on the dragon's scaled hide. We're going to move the rocks now. It's going to hurt, but we'll be as careful as we can. The dragon's eyes met hers, and it made a small sound that might have been acknowledgement. The lifting operation took 2 hours of careful, painful work. The lifter's beams had to be positioned precisely. The cliff section moved in increments to avoid crushing the dragon further. Every movement brought sounds of pain from the creature, but it never tried to bite or strike at them. Almost there, Jake called from the lifter controls. One more section. The final piece of cliff face lifted away, and the dragon was free. It tried to rise, but its legs buckled. The injured wing dragged uselessly. Lisa was there immediately with medical foam to seal the worst wounds. Easy, don't try to move yet, let me work. Daniel's communicator crackled. Captain Brooks, this is Commander Vex of the Council Enforcement Division. You are interfering with authorized wildlife control operations. Stand down immediately. Daniel switched to broadcast mode so his whole team could hear. Commander Vex, we are rendering medical aid to an injured sentient being. We are not standing down. The response was ice cold. That creature is classified as dangerous fauna. You have no authority to contradict council designation. Remove yourselves or we will remove you. Try it, Jake said quietly, checking his weapon. Belay that, Daniel ordered. We're not starting a fight we can't win. He activated the communicator again. Commander, I'm sending you data. Look at it before you make threats. Transmitted the translated images from the dragon's communication. The cities, the art, the families, the evidence of sentience that the council had ignored. There was silence for a long moment. Then Vex's voice returned, harder than before. Irrelevant. Council law is clear. That species has been designated non-sentient. End of discussion. Council law is wrong, Daniel said, and we both know it. Your opinion on council law doesn't interest me, human. You have 1 hour to evacuate the area. After that, we will consider you hostile combatants. The connection cut off. Lisa looked up from her work on the dragon's wounds. Can they really do that? Just attack us? In council space, they can do whatever they want, Daniel said. We're a long way from Earth. The dragon made a sound and checked her device. It's trying to tell us something new. The image that appeared was simple but clear. The dragon flying away, the humans safe. It was trying to tell them to leave to save themselves. No, Daniel said firmly, looking into those golden eyes. We're not leaving you. The dragon's scales pulsed in what might have been confusion or gratitude. It tried again to stand, managing to get its front legs under it this time. The torn wing hung at an awkward angle, useless. The wing needs surgery, Lisa said. Real surgery, not just field medicine, and even then I don't know if it will ever fly again. Daniel made a decision. Pack everything, we're taking it back to the outpost. It won't fit in the rover, Jake pointed out. Then it walks and we walk with it. The outpost has proper medical facilities, defensive shields, and communication equipment. If we're going to make a stand, we do it there. The dragon seemed to understand. It took a tentative step, then another. Each movement brought visible pain, but it kept going. The 3 small bodies lay in the mist, and the dragon turned back to look at them one last time. We can't leave them here, said softly. Daniel nodded. Jake, help me, we'll carry them. They wrapped the small dragons carefully, reverently. They were surprisingly light, their scales already losing their luster. The parent dragon watched, its eyes never leaving its children. The journey back to the outpost was slow and painful. The dragon limped along, stopping frequently to rest. The team walked beside it, ready to help if it fell. Above them, council ships tracked their progress, dark shapes against the afternoon sky. As the outpost came into view, Daniel's communicator buzzed with an incoming message from Earth. He listened, and a slow smile spread across his face. What is it? Lisa asked. Reinforcements. 3 human ships just entered the system. Someone back home saw our preliminary reports and decided we might need backup. Jake laughed short and sharp. The council is going to lose their minds. The dragon made a questioning sound, its scales flickering with light. Translated. It's asking why we're doing this, why we're risking so much for a stranger. Daniel looked up at the massive creature, at the intelligence in its eyes, at the grief it carried. Tell it that's what humans do. We help those who can't help themselves. We stand up to bullies, and we never, ever ignore someone calling for help. Outpost Medical Bay had never been designed for a patient this size. Lisa and her team worked around the dragon's bulk, setting up equipment wherever they could find space. The creature lay as still as possible, though pain occasionally made it shudder. Lung is healing faster than I expected, Lisa reported, studying her scans. The biology is remarkable, part organic tissue, part crystalline structure. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Daniel watched from the doorway as Lisa worked. The dragon's eyes were half closed, exhausted from the journey. Its scales still pulsed with light occasionally, speaking in a language they were only beginning to understand. Had set up her translation equipment in the corner, continuously refining the protocols. I'm getting better at reading the patterns. The dragon's name is, at least, that's the closest human approximation. Daniel repeated softly. The dragon's eyes opened fully, focusing on him. Its scales flickered in acknowledgement. Jake entered the room, his face grim. Council ships are holding position in orbit, 3 enforcement cruisers and a command carrier. They're not leaving. Neither are we, Daniel said. The human ships arrived too. Captain on the Liberty wants to talk to you. Daniel stepped into the communications room, and a weathered face appeared on the screen. Captain Maria looked like she'd been through a few wars and won most of them. Brooks, hell of a mess you've gotten yourself into. Good to see you too, Captain. Thanks for the backup. His expression softened slightly. When word reached Earth about what you found, about what the Council did to those kids, people got angry, real angry. The kind of angry that makes politicians move fast. We were the closest ships, so here we are. The Council is threatening to attack if we don't hand over. Let them try. We've got orders directly from Earth Command. You protect that dragon, we protect you. Simple as that. Leaned forward. But Brooks, you need to understand what this means. If shooting starts, it's not just about one dragon anymore. It becomes a political incident that could fracture the entire Galactic Council. Daniel thought about lying in the medical bay, about the 3 small bodies they'd recovered from the valley. Then it fractures. Some things are more important than politics. Nodded slowly. I was hoping you'd say that, Liberty out. In the medical bay had made a breakthrough. Daniel, you need to see this. Wants to share something with you. Direct contact. Lisa looked up from her work. Direct contact, what does that mean? I think it means memories. Direct memory transfer through touch with the scales. Gestured to her equipment. The patterns suggest it's something dragons do with each other, a way of sharing experiences without words. Daniel approached carefully. The dragon's golden eyes watched him, patient and knowing. One massive paw was extended, scales glowing with soft light. Is it safe? Jake asked. Only one way to find out, Daniel said, and placed his hand on scales. The world disappeared. Daniel stood in a crystal forest under a purple sky. Dragons soared overhead, their scales creating patterns of light that was language, art, and song all at once. He could feel the joy in their flight, the freedom. He was young and strong, learning to shape crystal with heat from his breath. The crystals weren't just resources. They were part of dragon culture, grown into homes and schools and monuments. Every structure told a story, held memories of those who shaped them. He found a mate, their scales synchronized in patterns of love and commitment. They built a home together, crystal walls that sang when the wind touched them. Then came the eggs, 3 perfect eggs that glowed with inner light. The eggs hatched, 3 children, small and curious, their scales still soft, teaching them to fly, watching them discover the world. Pride and love so intense it was almost painful. Then the council ships arrived. The declaration broadcast across the world. Non-sentient, animals, resources to be harvested. Dragons protesting, showing their art, their science, their culture. The council representatives looking at them with cold eyes and seeing only obstacles to profit. The mining equipment descending. Crystal forests, centuries old, reduced to rubble in hours. Dragons trying to protect their homes, their history. Energy weapons cutting them down. No mercy, no trials, just efficient extermination. And its family running, hiding, stealing a small ship, flying through space with 3 frightened children, promising them safety, promising them a new home. Finding this world, building a simple home in the valley. The children learning to be happy again, playing in the mists, their scales bright with laughter. Then the enforcers finding them anyway. Someone had tracked them. The children playing, unaware of danger, the ships descending, trying to shield them, too slow, too late. Watching its children fall from the sky, the agony of that moment worse than any physical pain. Fighting the enforcers, desperate and grieving. Energy weapons tearing its wing. The cliff face collapsing, designed to trap. The enforcers leaving it to die slowly beside its dead children. A message to any other dragon refugees. This is what happens when you run. Days of pain and grief. Unable to move, unable to help, unable to even bury its children properly. The slow acceptance of death. Then the humans arriving. Strange beings choosing to help when they had no reason to. Choosing to risk themselves for a stranger. Hope, fragile and unexpected, blooming in the darkness. Daniel gasped as the connection broke. He was back in the medical bay, his hands still on scales. Tears ran down his face, and he didn't care who saw them. "I felt it," he said hoarsely. "All of it, what they did, what the council did to an entire civilization." Lisa's face was pale. It was genocide. "It still is," added quietly. "According to the data I've pulled, the council has classified 12 species as non-sentient in the last 50 years. All of them had resources the council wanted. All of them are now extinct or nearly extinct." Jake slammed his fist against the wall, "And everyone just goes along with it." "Because it's legal," Daniel said bitterly. "The council makes the laws, they decide who counts as a person and who doesn't, and no one has the power or the will to stop them." Made a soft sound. Its scales pulsed with new patterns and checked her device. "It's saying there are others. More dragons scattered across the galaxy. Hiding, running, watching their families die one by one. It thought it was alone, but now it knows humans can see the truth." Daniel looked into his eyes and made a promise. "We'll find them, every last one, and we'll make sure the whole galaxy knows what the council has done." His communicator buzzed. Commander Vex's cold voice filled the room. "Captain Brooks, your time is up. Evacuate the outpost now or face the consequences." "No," Daniel said simply. "Then you leave me no choice. Consider yourselves hostile combatants." The connection cut off. Alarms immediately began blaring as the outpost sensors detected weapons charging on the council ships above. "They're actually going to do it," Lisa said in disbelief. "They're going to attack a human research outpost." Jake was already moving. "Everyone to defensive positions, get the shields up." Daniel grabbed his communicator. "They're powering weapons." "We see them, Brooks. Liberty and her sisters are moving to intercept. But understand, if we fire on council ships, there's no going back." Daniel looked at the dragon who had lost everything and still found the strength to hope. He thought about the 3 small bodies in the valley, about an entire civilization erased from existence because they stood in the way of profit. Then there's no going back. Do what you have to do. The next few minutes moved in slow motion. Council ships descending, weapons hot. Human ships positioning themselves between the outpost and the threat. Both sides locked in a standoff that could explode into war at any moment. Then shouted from her station, "Wait, something's coming through. It's not just Earth that saw our reports. Someone leaked the dragon memories to every major news network in the galaxy. It's everywhere. Every species, every world. They all know now." On the main screen, images from memories played out. The crystal cities, the families, the children playing. And then the council ships, the killing, the cold efficiency of genocide. "Emergency transmissions coming in from all over," continued. "Council member species are demanding answers. Some are threatening to withdraw from the council entirely. This is huge." Commander Vex's voice came back, but the ice in it had cracked slightly. "Brooks, stand by. We're receiving new orders." The weapons on the council ships powered down. Slowly, they began to withdraw to higher orbit. Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "Status." "They're leaving," Jake reported, "for now." Scales blazed with light, patterns so complex they seemed to tell entire stories. Smiled through her tears as she translated. "It's saying thank you, and it's saying something else, about hope. That maybe its children's deaths won't be meaningless, that maybe they'll be the last children to die this way. Lisa continued her work on the dragon's wing. This is just the beginning. The council won't give up easily. Neither will we, Daniel said. He placed his hand on scales again, sharing not memories this time, but a promise. You're not alone anymore. None of your people are. Humanity has your back. The galactic response came faster than anyone expected. Within 24 hours, the story of and the murdered dragon children had spread to every corner of known space. The images from the dragon's memories were too powerful, too raw to ignore. Daniel stood in the outpost's command center watching news feeds from dozens of different worlds. Every screen showed the same thing: dragons flying in crystal forests, children playing, then the killing. The Alliance is calling for an emergency council session, reported. The collective just issued a formal condemnation. Even the Compact, and they never disagree with the council, is demanding an investigation. Lisa entered the room, medical mask pulled down around her neck. Is stable. The wing is going to take months to heal if it ever does, but the dragon will live. Any word on other survivors? Daniel asked. Earth Command is coordinating with anyone willing to help. Search teams are checking refugee reports across the frontier worlds. If there are more dragons hiding out there, we'll find them. Jake burst through the door, his face flushed with excitement. You need to see this. Ambassador Cole is addressing the full Galactic Council. It's being broadcast everywhere. The main screen switched to show a vast chamber where representatives from hundreds of species gathered. At the center podium stood Ambassador Cole, a woman who had spent 30 years in galactic politics and looked ready to burn it all down. Honored members, she began, her voice carrying across the chamber. We are here because the Galactic Council, the institution we trust to maintain peace and justice, has been systematically committing genocide for profit. Outrage erupted from some sections of the chamber. Others sat in shocked silence. Cole continued, unbothered by the reaction. 3 days ago, human researchers discovered a dragon named, wounded and dying beside the bodies of 3 murdered children. The council classified these beings as non-sentient to justify stripping their world of resources. But we have proof, direct from its own memories, that dragons possess intelligence, culture, art, and civilization. The screens behind her lit up with images from the memory transfer. The crystal cities in all their beauty. Dragons creating art with their bioluminescent scales. Families caring for eggs with tenderness that needed no translation. Then the darker images, the council declaration, the mining equipment, the killing. These were not animals, Cole said, her voice hard as steel. These were people with homes and families and dreams, people who the council murdered because their existence was inconvenient. A delegate stood. Ambassador Cole, these are serious accusations. Do you have evidence beyond the testimony of a single creature? Cole smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. I have evidence of 11 other species classified as non-sentient in the past 50 years. All possessed signs of intelligence. All had resources the council wanted. All are now extinct or nearly so. I have documentation of suppressed reports, ignored scientific studies, and dissenting council members who were removed from their positions when they questioned these classifications. She pressed a button, and data began flooding the chamber's displays. Reports, videos, audio recordings, evidence of a pattern so clear it couldn't be. The dragon genocide is not an isolated incident. It is council policy. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouting, accusations flying. The council leadership trying to call for order while their carefully constructed lies crumbled around them. At the outpost, Daniel watched with grim satisfaction. She's tearing them apart. Good, Jake said. They deserve worse. Station beeped urgently. Incoming transmission. It's coded as urgent priority. The screen shifted to show Captain Brooks, we've got a situation developing. Council enforcement ships are mobilizing across the sector. They're not heading your way, though. They're moving toward known dragon refugee locations. Daniel's blood ran cold. They're going to destroy the evidence, kill any dragons they can find before we locate them. That's our assessment. Earth Command is scrambling every ship we have, but we're spread thin. We can't cover every world. Then we need help, Daniel said. Send out a call on all frequencies. Tell everyone what's happening. Ask for help. From who? From anyone who cares about doing the right thing. The call went out across the galaxy, a simple message. Dragons were being hunted, children were being murdered, anyone who could help, please respond. For an hour there was silence, then the responses started coming in. A merchant fleet changed course, moving to intercept council ships near a reported dragon sighting. An science vessel stationed itself in orbit around a frontier moon where dragons might be hiding. Independent traders, civilian transports, even a few military vessels from species tired of council overreach. They all came. "It's working," said, her voice filled with wonder. "People are actually helping." In the medical bay raised its head, sensing the change in the outpost's atmosphere. Its scales pulsed with questioning light. Lisa sat beside the dragon. "Your people aren't alone anymore. The whole galaxy is looking for them now, to help them, not hurt them." The dragon's eyes closed briefly, then opened with new intensity. Its scales began creating patterns Lisa had never seen before, complex and beautiful. Rushed in with her device. "Is doing something. The patterns are different, more detailed." "What is it saying?" "Not saying, showing. Locations. Is remembering where other dragons went when they fled. Hidden places, safe places. It's giving us coordinates." Daniel activated his communicator. "We're sending you a data package. Locations of possible dragon refuges. Get it to every friendly ship in range." "Understood. Brooks, you should know, Commander Vex is demanding the Council mobilize a full battle fleet. They want handed over, and they want it now. Tell them to come and take it." Laughed, "Already did. They're not happy about it. Watch yourself down there." The next few hours became a race across the galaxy. Human ships and their new allies rushing to reach dragons before Council enforcers could. Every successful rescue was broadcast across all channels. Every dragon found alive was a victory against the genocide. A family of 4 dragons discovered on an ice moon, frightened but alive. A single old dragon hiding in an asteroid field, wounded but surviving. 2 adolescent dragons found in the ruins of a crashed ship, orphaned but now protected. Each rescue made the Council's lives harder to maintain. Each dragon saved was living proof of what the Council had tried to destroy. In the Council chamber, Ambassador Cole played footage of the rescues. "These are the creatures you called animals. Look at them. Look at their eyes and tell me you see no intelligence. Look at how they care for each other and tell me they have no culture. Look at the children and tell me their deaths were justified." Even the most loyal Council supporters fell silent. At the outpost, alarms suddenly blared. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace," Jake reported. "Council enforcement fleet, 20 vessels, and they're not holding back this time." Commander Vex's face appeared on screen. "Captain Brooks, by order of the Galactic Council, you are to surrender the dragon designated as hostile fauna. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your facility." Daniel looked at his team. Lisa standing ready to defend her patient. Jake at the weapons console, still translating patterns, helping save more dragons even as their own situation grew desperate. Behind them, through the medical bay window, he could see watching with those intelligent golden eyes. "Commander Vex, you want this dragon, you'll have to go through me." "That can be arranged." The Council ships began their attack approach, but they weren't alone. Human vessels moved to intercept, and joining them, ships from a dozen other species, merchants and traders and scientists who had decided that some things were more important than staying neutral. "They're outnumbered," said in disbelief. "The Council ships are actually outnumbered." Vex seemed to realize it too. His fleet slowed, reassessing. Daniel's communicator buzzed with a new transmission. It was Ambassador Cole calling from the Council chamber. "Brooks, I thought you should know. The vote just finished. The Council has agreed to suspend all enforcement actions pending a full investigation into the dragon classification. It's not over, but it's a start." On the screen, Vex's expression was pure fury, but he gave the order. "All ships stand down, return to base." The Council fleet, and cheers erupted across the communications net. Ships from dozens of species celebrating together, united in victory against injustice. Scales blazed with light so bright it filled the entire medical bay. The patterns were joy, relief, gratitude, and hope all woven together. Lisa translated what her medical scans were showing. "Healing is accelerating. I think knowing its people are being saved is helping it recover." Daniel returned to the medical bay and placed his hand on the dragon's scales. This time, he shared his own memory. The moment he first heard cry for help, the decision to investigate despite the warnings, the feeling that had driven him forward. The simple human belief that no one should die alone and forgotten. 3 months later, the valley looked different. Where destruction had the earth, new growth had begun. Where 3 small dragons had died, there now stood a memorial of crystal and stone, built by human hands and dragon fire working together. Stood before the memorial, scales glowing softly in the afternoon light. The dragon's wing had healed enough for short flights, though it would never be as strong as before. Some scars ran too deep. Daniel approached quietly, not wanting to disturb the moment, but heard him and turned, its golden eyes warm with recognition. "The others are arriving tomorrow," Daniel said. 43 dragons, all the survivors we could find. They'll be here to see the memorial to honor the lost. Scales pulsed with light, and's voice came through Daniel's communicator. She was still at the outpost, monitoring the translation systems. "Says thank you, and it wants to share something with you." Daniel placed his hand on the dragon's scales, ready for the memory transfer. But this time was different. Instead of past memories, shared a vision of the future. Dragons flying together again, not in fear but in freedom. A new world protected by humans and other allies where they could rebuild their culture. Children being born, raised in safety, learning the old ways and creating new ones. The crystal cities rising again, different but beautiful. And humans there too, not as conquerors or saviors, but as friends. 2 species learning from each other, growing together. When the vision ended, Daniel had tears in his eyes. "We'll make it happen, I promise." His communicator buzzed. It was Ambassador Cole. "Daniel, the council vote is complete. The dragon species has been officially reclassified as sentient. Full legal protections, reparations, and a formal apology. It's not enough, not nearly enough for what was done, but it's a start." "What about the others? The 11 species that were classified as non-sentient?" Cole's expression darkened. "That's where it gets complicated. 8 are extinct. Complete extinction. Nothing we can do. 2 have small populations left, and we're already working on protection and restoration efforts. But Daniel, the investigation found evidence of 19 more species that the Council was considering for classification. 19 more genocides that were being planned." "Were being planned?" "The new regulations stop it. Any species classification now requires independent verification from multiple sources, including human scientists. The Council can't just decide someone isn't a person anymore." Cole paused. "You did this. You and your team. You saw someone who needed help and you didn't look away." After the call ended, Daniel walked back to the memorial. Lisa was there now, running final checks on the medical monitoring equipment they'd installed for. Jake stood guard, though the days of needing guards were mostly over. Had come down from the outpost, her translation device still recording every pattern made. "The memorial is beautiful," Lisa said quietly. "Do you think they would have liked it?" Made a soft sound, and its scales created an image. 3 young dragons playing in this very valley, their scales bright with happiness. The image was memory, but also hope, a promise that they would not be forgotten. "Tell me about them," Daniel said. "Tell me who they were." Through's translation shared stories of its children. The oldest, curious and brave, always asking questions about the stars. The middle child, gentle and artistic, who could create patterns with their scales that made other dragons weep with joy. The youngest, playful and mischievous, who loved to hide in the mist and surprise its siblings. They had names in the dragon language, complex harmonics that human throats couldn't produce, but gave them human approximations too. Starseeker, Light Weaver, Mist Dancer. "We'll remember them," said, her voice thick with emotion. "All of them, every dragon that the Council murdered, will make sure their names are never forgotten." The next day, dragons began arriving. They came from hiding places across the galaxy, escorted by human ships and vessels from other species who had joined the cause. Each one was traumatized, carrying the weight of loss and survival. But they were alive, and they were together. Greeted each one with elaborate scale patterns, sharing the story of the humans who had chosen to help. Other dragons approached Daniel and his team cautiously at first, then with growing trust. Some shared their own memories of the genocide, of families lost and homes destroyed. One dragon, smaller and younger than had lost its entire family. It had been hiding alone for 2 years, slowly starving, too afraid to seek help. When it saw alive, when it learned that humans had fought to save dragon children, it collapsed in grief and relief. Lisa treated its malnutrition while the dragon's scales told stories of loneliness and terror. Daniel sat with it through the night, not speaking, just present. Sometimes that was all anyone could offer. The formal memorial service happened at sunset. Dragons gathered around the crystal monument, their scales creating a symphony of light in the fatting day. Humans stood respectfully to the side, witnesses to a grief that transcended species. Approached the memorial and began to sing. The sound was nothing like the desperate cry that had first echoed through the valley. This was a song of mourning, yes, but also of love and memory. Other dragons joined in, their voices creating harmonies that seemed to make the air itself shimmer. The song told the story of the dragon civilization, the beauty of their world, the joy of their culture, the warmth of their families. It acknowledged the horror of what had been done to them, the pain of genocide, the weight of survival. But it also spoke of hope, of humans who had heard a cry for help and responded, of species across the galaxy standing together against injustice, of children who might be born in safety, who might never know the fear their parents had lived with. The song lasted until the stars came out, until the valley was lit only by the glow of dragon scales and the memorial crystal. When it ended, silence fell, heavy with meaning. Then the youngest dragon there, barely more than a child, approached the memorial. Its scales created a simple pattern. A question: would it be okay to play here again someday? Could this place of death become a place of life? His answer was immediate. Yes, that was exactly what the memorial was for, to remember the lost but also to celebrate what they loved. The joy of play, the beauty of life, the hope of the future. The young dragon's scales brightened, and it began to chase through the mist, just as children once had. Other young dragons joined in, their scales flashing with light and laughter. Daniel watched them play and felt something tight in his chest finally relax. This was what they had fought for, not just survival but the chance to live again, to play, to hope, to believe in tomorrow. Jake appeared beside him. Earth Command is officially establishing this as a protected world. No mining, no exploitation. The dragons can build here if they want, make it a new home. What about the council? They're still in chaos. Half the member species are threatening to leave. The whole power structure is being questioned. It's going to take years to sort out. Jake paused. But the important thing is it's changing because of what happened here. Join them, her device still translating the patterns of playing dragons. Wants to know if you'll stay, help them rebuild, teach them about humans like they'll teach you about dragons. Daniel looked at the dragon who had lost everything and still found the strength to trust, to hope, to build rather than destroy. Tell yes, we'll stay as long as we're needed. Lisa came over, medical scanner in hand, but a smile on her face. The young ones are healthy, scared, traumatized, but healthy. With time and care, they'll heal. Just like their elder, Daniel said, watching move among the young dragons, scales creating encouraging patterns, offering comfort and guidance. The night deepened, but the valley stayed bright with dragon light. Patterns of communication, of art, of simple joy flickered between the survivors. They were building something new here, something that honored the past while embracing the future. A human transport landed nearby, bringing supplies and more personnel. Scientists who wanted to learn dragon culture, engineers to help build structures, teachers to document dragon history before it was lost forever. And more would come, not to conquer or control, but to help, to stand alongside these survivors and say, you are not alone, you are not forgotten, and what was done to you was wrong. Approached the memorial one last time that night. Its scales created an image for Daniel to see. 3 young dragons, safe and happy, watching their parent with love. Not a memory this time, but a wish. A hope that somewhere in whatever came after, they knew their deaths had meant something. That because of them, the galaxy had changed. Justice had been demanded, wrongs had been acknowledged, and 43 dragons had been saved. Daniel placed his hand on scales and shared his own wish. That the dragon would find peace, that new children would be born, that the crystal cities would rise again. That someday, the scars would fade enough for joy to return completely. Scales pulsed with light, accepting the wish, adding hope to hope. In the valley, young dragons played under the stars, their scales bright with life. Above them, human ships stood guard, a promise made and kept. Around them, the memorial glowed softly, remembering the lost while celebrating the survivors. And in the distance, carried on the wind, came a sound that was no longer a cry of grief, but a song of hope. The valley that had witnessed such terrible loss was becoming a place of healing, of new beginnings, of two species learning that compassion, more than any weapon or technology, was the force that could change the galaxy. Sang into the night, and 43 voices answered. Not a cry for help this time, but a declaration. They had survived. They would rebuild. And they would never let the galaxy forget what had been done or who had stood up when standing up mattered most. The dragon's cry had been heard, and the galaxy would never be the same. Understood, its scales pulsed in acknowledgement, in friendship, in trust. Nightmares, knowing that someone finally cared enough to fight for justice. The dragon's scales exploded with light, patterns so complex and beautiful that they took everyone's breath away. Its device couldn't fully translate it, but the emotion was clear. Hope, for the first time since its children died, the dragon felt hope. In the distance, thunder rumbled, but it wasn't a storm approaching. It was the sound of council ships breaking atmosphere, coming to enforce their will. Daniel stood his ground. Whatever came next, they weren't leaving. Sometimes the right thing and the legal thing weren't the same. And he'd learned long ago that when faced with that choice, humanity had a bad habit of choosing right over easy. The dragon watched them work, its golden eyes unblinking, as if afraid that if it looked away, these strange beings who chose to help might disappear like a dream.